All right, word of the day, guts. That's what this 49ers win was about. I just left the locker room. Look, I'm about to walk over the Seahawks logo here, and we could talk about the fact that, boy, in that locker room I saw John Lynch pull up a chair right next to Jauan Jennings, who was in a lot of pain following his shoulder injury. He's going to get an MRI when he gets back to the Bay Area tomorrow. And John was there's a good GM checking in on Jauan Jennings, one of the 49ers Warriors. They needed their Warriors today to beat the Seahawks 17-13. So also checked in on Fred Warner, who got the cut on his nose. That came because his chin strap slid up and hit him in the face. It caused that bleeding, but he also told me that he fell on top of a cleat. He got spiked in the stomach and wanted to throw up. But Fred, one of the toughest players in the NFL, stayed in this football game and ended up being the leader alongside Nick Bosa and Diamaro Lenore of, I thought, an epically good 49ers defensive performance. They were giving up only 4 yards a play up until the Darnold to JSN deep pass at the end. But then, even after the Bryce Huff offsides penalty, Nick Bosa pushed Abraham Lucas, whom the Seahawks just paid this week, by the way, but he pushed Abraham Lucas back into Sam Darnold. Darnold fumbled the football. Bosa recovered it. Shades of the Dre Greenlaw play on that same end zone, back in that direction. That's where that happened. I mean, just epic stuff from a 49ers defense. You know, Nick gave me a little bit of a hard time. I walked up to Nick and I'm like, hey man, I'm going to be honest. I picked you guys to lose. I underestimated you. And he gave me a hard time. So did Fred. I'm objective with this, and I'll let the guys know when I pick against the 49ers. But what stood out to me is that those rookies showed maturity beyond their years in that they turned this on despite some issues in the first half. Like the Seahawks picked on Upton Stout in the first half. There was the huge fourth down pass interference penalty, but then Upton had a big PBU in the second half. Marquise Siegel might have missed a tackle today, but he had the huge fumble recovery. I mean, you talk about toughness here, okay? We go to this side of the field. This was the sideline behind me. Look, I could even flip it around. It was this sideline right over here where Brock Purdy threw from, I would say, over here somewhere, but he found Ricky Pearsall streaking this way. That was a play that the 49ers had to make in crunch time late in this game because Seattle had started gambling big time against the run. I said the 49ers, even though they are shorthanded at the wide receiver position, are going to have to hit one over the top. And hit one over the top they did. It was a double move. And the thing is that earlier in the game against Tariq Woolen, Ricky Pearsall had lined up in the same formation and run a shorter hook pattern. So they lulled the Seahawks to sleep with that hook pattern. The crazy thing is, and I talked to Ricky about this in the locker room, you'll hear from him in a little bit, on that particular play right before the snap, Rick Woolen backed up and gave Ricky more room. And so Ricky was like, well, maybe we should be running the hook pattern. But guts, the theme of the day, Purdy and Pearsall decided to go deep anyway. Corner might be playing further back. Who cares? Let's let it rip, because they needed an explosive play. This was all about situational football. That's what made this game so good from Brock Purdy and the 49ers offense. Sure, it wasn't mistake-free. There are blemishes with those interceptions, but given the fact that the kicking game was struggling the way that it was, given the fact that the 49ers were shorthanded offensively with George Kittle and the hamstring injury, and Jauan Jennings, I told you, with the shoulder injury, he wasn't in at the end of the game, they felt they needed a big strike, especially since Seattle was ganging up on that run. They were giving the 49ers all the business with their defensive line. That was a struggle for the 49ers all game. So situational understanding, you've got to have the guts to hit them deep down the sideline. Purdy to Pearsall did that over there. And then we can rotate over and face this end zone. This was where Jake Tonjes, right behind me, made his catch. And you talk about guts, you talk about situational awareness. Brock Purdy realized the 49ers had 3 timeouts, that even if it was an interception, they could get the ball back. But, you know, fortune favors the bold. He could not be timid on that play, and he's rolling to the right. So he's rolling this way. Actually, we should probably flip the camera over here. He's rolling this way, nearing the sideline, and then he just decides to uncork it. Rick Woolen is in on coverage again against Jake Tonjes after George Kittle got hurt, and Tonjes just snatches the ball out of the air. Didn't have a single catch in his NFL career until today, had 3 and delivered for the 49ers. So just wow play after wow play in crunch time. Talked to Trent Williams in the locker room, and he said this one meant a lot. Just because it was a grind. Things weren't going, in the way of a win for the 49ers, even if they were dominating statistically, which they did, but they weren't punching it in. They weren't kicking it through the uprights. Jake Moody was either missing or getting blocked, and it just looked like it was going to be one of those that you chalk up as a loss because of missed opportunities, even if they had nearly 40 minutes of possession. But at the end of the day, when it mattered most, Purdy to Pearsall, Purdy to Tonjes. On the other side of the football, Nick Bosa delivering, and then even some of the rookies like Upton Stout, Marquise Siegel delivering, Sam Okawanu, the defensive lineman who forced the fumble that Marquise Siegel recovered. That was a big time play. And Sam told me in the locker room that he had focused on getting the football this offseason. So he just kind of felt the football as he reached around the ball carrier and punched it out as he was dragging him down. I mean, these are the details that determine the difference between winning and losing in the NFL. And then, of course, there was Christian McCaffrey, and it's hard to say much more about him. I mean, he is a stud, and he's healthy. Yes, I mean, it is absolutely absurd at this point to think that there were people attacking me and just talking this week as if it were crazy to say that Christian McCaffrey would play when anybody who had any sort of intelligence about context clues would see that it was likely that he would be out on the football field for the 49ers today. And he delivered for San Francisco, despite the fact that I thought the Seahawks offensive line was giving the 49ers O-line the business today. McCaffrey was able to squeeze out 69 rushing yards. There was a stretch there in the second half where they did get the run game going a little bit, but they still needed the explosive to Pearsall through the air later. But it was the 9 catches for 73 receiving yards. That led the 49ers, the 9 catches. Pearsall had 4 for 108, so he was the explosive guy. But McCaffrey was old faithful. He was reliable for the 49ers. 10 targets, 9 catches. He is worth his weight in gold, especially in a game where Jennings was not available at the end, where Kittle wasn't available at the end. The 49ers needed McCaffrey to pick up more slack for them. He did. They needed that big 30 to 25-yarder from Kyle Juszczyk to come through, and they needed the 3 catches for 15 yards from Jake Tonjes, including the dramatic one at the end. So everything about this for the 49ers was gutsy. They got it done. Now, as far as special teams goes, because after a win like this, it's a bit of an elephant in the room. If the 49ers had lost, obviously it would be what we lead with, but the 49ers overcame the short Moody miss, and then they overcame the block, which didn't appear to be Jake Moody's fault. Kyle Shanahan said that Moody will definitely be the 49ers kicker next week. So for whatever it's worth, don't expect a change on that front. However, the 49ers do need to change this special teams efficiency. It's not good. Moody had a touchback to open the game, which you really can't have anymore with the ball placed out at the 35-yard line. You can't miss chip shot field goals. I know that he tied the game later on with a kick for the 49ers. And, I know that it wasn't all terrible for Jake Moody, but there were 2 huge blemishes for the entire 49ers kicking operation, especially on the block. But there were 2 big blemishes in this game, one before halftime and one in the second half that they absolutely cannot have moving forward. Just in general, right? The 49ers offense was going against a very, very good bend but don't break Seattle defense. Mike McDonald, I think, is a play calling genius, and he had a defensive line getting after it against the 49ers today. The Seahawks got theirs on the defensive side of the ball. There was the interception for Ernest Jones IV. Then Josh Jobe had a pick as well. But the 49ers were able to grind it out still to 17 points, even though they missed 2 field goals in this game. 400-plus yards for San Francisco. I mean, it was decent offensive efficiency, but not great team-wide efficiency at punching the ball through for points. But still, it was a battle against the really good Seattle defense, and I think you have to leave feeling solid about the 49ers offense and their prospects, because they're only going to become more explosive as this season progresses when guys like Jauan Jennings, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk do return. So arrow up for the offense. Purdy is a stud, 26 of 35, 2 touchdowns, those 2 picks, yes, but the guts with everything on the line when he threw that ball to Jake Tonjes. Then, you go to the defense and you realize Robert Saleh has these guys playing. And this is where I was wrong, is that I didn't realize the defense would be at this level for the 49ers this quickly. Now, maybe it is that the Seahawks aren't very good offensively, but they've got some weapons. JSN is a weapon. Cooper Kupp is an adept receiver. He may not be great anymore, but he's adept. And, Darnold has the arm strength. He didn't look as good as he did in Minnesota last year, but he's somebody that can push opposing defenses with his talent. He used his legs a little bit today. The 49ers, though, I don't want to say airtight, but they were good. They flew around to the football. Kalia Davis, I remember, big tackle for loss. I mean, they stopped the run, which is the most important thing. Seattle only 3.2 yards per carry, 26 carries, 84 yards. Charbonnet had 12 for 47. Kenneth Walker had 10 for 20. I mean, the 49ers stymied the run. Darnold only 150 passing yards. If there is one significant takeaway from this game, because we already knew that Brock Purdy's really good. We already knew that Christian McCaffrey's a future Hall of Famer. We already knew that the 49ers offense will be fine, especially after they get some of these guys back and they have full explosiveness capability downfield. I think the O-line will gel and some of their blitz pickups will gel. They're not going to be facing a Mike McDonald defense every week. The schedule eases up from here. It's the defense that I thought was going to be further back. But I thought once Upton Stout started getting beat a couple times in the first half and the Seahawks were picking on him, I thought that was going to become a game-long thing. I thought that, maybe Siegel would be a bit exposed. That did not happen. The 49ers D-line got after it. They stopped the run. That was the biggest weakness of this team last season. And the offensive side of the ball, obviously complemented what the defense needed to do, but it was the defense that almost it was the locomotive that pulled the train for the 49ers for much of this game. And that is the biggest arrow up you can possibly imagine for the 49ers entering New Orleans. The defense came ready to play. Robert Saleh was blitzing early and often. I asked Diamondo Lenore what he feels about that. He said, it's awesome, because it forces the QB to make a decision. It's something that Nick Sorensen wasn't doing last year, but Robert Saleh definitely did it today. So the 49ers show up in epic fashion on the defensive side of the ball. The numbers really are staggering for this team. I mean, Jackson Smith-Njigba had 124 of the Seahawks' 150 receiving yards. They didn't allow anything to anyone else in this game. That's 26 total yards outside of JSN in a full football game. So, hats off to the 49ers defense. This team's prospects for 2025 shot up today. They've obviously got to figure out special teams. They got to be better. They can't screw up the game in that phase, but they've got the QB, they've got the playmakers on offense, and it looks, with Robert Saleh back and all these rookies aboard, they've got a lot of moldable clay, a lot of good potential that may be ahead of schedule on defense. Winning in Seattle on this field, this has been a house of horrors in the past. Not easy, but the 49ers have now done it 4 times in a row. Brock Purdy is 4-0 as the 49ers starting quarterback in Seattle. So it was quite something. Just going through some of my notes, I talked about Warner, I talked about the guts. That is the theme for San Francisco. Monster win for the 49ers in Seattle. Nick Bosa, the closer on the Dre Greenlaw end zone. Jake Tonjes with the catch of his life. Do you miss 49ers football? Because if you don't miss it after this game, I don't know what you like. You got to have your pulse checked. Brock Purdy, Nick Bosa, the stars and unknowns, the rookies, and somebody like Jake Tonjes, a veteran who hadn't done much in his NFL career, they all come through for the 49ers here from Seattle at Lumen Field. All right, here's some interviews. We'll talk to you soon.
I was just telling him, we had a curl route earlier in the game on the right side out of the same exact formation. He was sitting on it and just squatting on it. And I just felt him coming up. And earlier, the entire game, they like to play back hip. And that's what we knew when we were watching film. And on the sideline, we were just talking we need to go deep one time. We need to hit somebody on a double move. They're sitting. I mentioned that same exact thing. And I told him, let's run a curl and go, because they're sitting on that exact play. And then Shanahan dialed it up and called it. And obviously it won. But actually, I was telling him, it was in that look, I'd rather have ran the curl, honestly, because he was actually ended up being deeper. It looked like he was going to backpedal a little bit more than the previous curl that I had. So, but I was like, we might as well run it. They tend to come up anyway and trust their speed. So, and then when the ball was in the air, shout out AB. I seen some of his tape. He leaned on him and slow down a little bit, speed up.
Create a lot of separation. That was all intentional.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I try to create separation anytime I can, and props to them. They're really good DBs. They made me work today for sure. And, they do a really good job at the line of scrimmage getting hands on. And I knew going into it was going to be a physical game as far as, at the release point in the middle of my route getting hands off. And they were making me work. They're two really good DBs. And, I was happy to go out there and be able to compete with them boys and make some plays.
That deep corner you caught, it might have been the fourth already, maybe the third. Was that in the one spot? It looked like the coverage was good. Was that in the one bucket that it had to be in?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it was a dime by Brock. And actually, for that route, I went outside, and you actually want to go inside on that route, but they were squatting inside a lot. So I just reacted to the release point, went back outside, leaned on him, and ran the corner. And then Brock threw a beautiful ball over the shoulder, and he didn't look back because he was beat and he was just running for dear life at that point, and then came down with it.
Jake Tonjes is a guy that didn't have a career reception before today. What have you seen out of him over the last few months that would have convinced you he could win a game like this today?
Actually, you even know that stat, so that's pretty cool because when I watch Jake Tonjes in practice, he's a really good mover for a tight end. Tight ends, they got to be in that box and they got to block. So sometimes the route runner is not as good, but that's not the case for Jake. He's a tremendous route runner. He moves very well. He blocks very well, and then in a moment like that to go up and make a play like that with the ball in the air and with the game on the line, it was really cool. To see a guy like that, especially having George go down and him having to step in that role. It was super cool to see, and Jake's definitely deserving of that. He's a really good dude.
Game, you stood out there giving everybody high fives. Was that just kind of a leadership thing, an excitement thing? Can you take me through that a little bit?
Actually, it was just a great team win. Hard fought. I feel like we fought on all three phases. So that's kind of where I was just showing emotion. I was happy because y'all know what's been going on this whole offseason where they kind of made this game about me and one of their receivers, but we came out and got the dub. That's all that matters. So now we're ready for New Orleans.
Was there a back and forth on the field with you and the Seahawks following all the trash talking off season?
I mean, they said words, but I didn't let it get to me. I just kept playing my game. And just trying to win the game.
Were you proud of the rookies today? It seemed that there were some missed plays in the first half, but guys like Upton bounced back with some PBUs in the second half.
Oh yeah, I mean stuff like that is gonna happen. He's still getting his feet wet with the NFL. It's just gonna take reps and time. So you gotta have patience with the young guys.
Timo, what was it like to have to play in a game under Robert Sala?
It was great. We got the dub. The energy was there. Defense flying around. Making plays, turnovers, it was beautiful.
Personally, how do you feel when he blitzes as aggressively as he did on those early third downs?
Oh, I love it. QB's got to make a decision. So it's either you're going to get hit in the head by Bosa or you're going to throw that ball to me.
Did you have a view on Tonjes' touchdown?
I did. It was a head tap, right?
Yeah.
Head tap. Let's go. He had a great week of practice. Proud of my boy. He had a beautiful touchdown. That was one of them plays. I'll remember that forever.
Would you be surprised he didn't have a career reception before today?
Oh, he worked for it. He earned that. He earned the weekend. Proud of you, Tonjes.
All right, guys.
We see guys like Jauan go out, George can go out. What does the mood like in the huddle?
Honestly, there's so much going on. It's like you didn't even really notice until obviously you see him on the sideline street. I was like, man, I didn't know he was out, but it's the next man up league. You never know when your opportunity is going to come, and you got to be prepared. And Jake was prepared.
How are you feeling? Was it an ankle thing?
No, it was more knee, calf, but it was okay. I just got so long and kind of jarred it a little bit. But I'm all right.
Did you guys started really hot offensively, and then there was a bit of a sputter. Was there frustration at all?
No. I mean, in my opinion, I think we had maybe 1 3 and out, two 3 and outs, but as an offense, we felt like we were getting what we wanted. Obviously, they play a bend but don't break, so you got 15, 20 play drives that you got to kind of play perfect football. So it's tough always playing a team like that, but you know, I feel like you look at the yardage and our stats. I think it kind of proved that we were getting what we wanted to get to. We just, you know, obviously turnovers and stuff like that, and MA stuff. We just got to clean up little stuff. It's week 1. You know, obviously every team deals with it. So
36 runs. Was that the game plan to be on the ground that much?
I don't know. I don't even know if we haven't played this team so much. I'm not even sure we got to go over a game plan. It's just, you know, they all started to run together. It's just, you know, it's a divisional opponent. But obviously, with the 2 backs we have in the backfield, we're going to always lean on the run pretty heavy.
What was your view of Jake Tonjes' catch? And did you know that coming into today he had no career receptions?
I didn't know that. I did not know that. But I seen him go up for the ball. I thought it was being thrown away. I seen him sky up for the ball. It was literally like slow motion, like a movie. And then it was you know, everybody had that delayed reaction when he caught it. It was just like, I can't believe he caught that. In my mind, I'm thinking the ball's being thrown away. So, you know, he obviously he was prepared.
A little scared for Christian McCaffrey. You can't go. Who do you think the 49ers offense relies on that?
Whoever was in the game today, I think that's what they'll do. I missed the whole quarter, so they figured it out. I think they'll be able to figure it out.
How did you feel like your chemistry with Brock was coming back after a little bit of time?
Feel good, and we just keep working on it. See what week 2 brings us.
Was this a little messy because it was week 1?
I don't think it was messy at all. I think we had a pretty great game. You know, quarterback hard to position on the field, so you know you make some and then some you just don't. So we come back week 2 and I know Brock will be better.
Good.